So hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Paul Adepoji, and I'm the community manager for the International Center for Journalists, Pamela Howard Forum on Global Crisis Reporting. And if you've been you've been with us since the beginning of March, we've started the Empowering the Truth Summit, and it's been an awesome experience for us, and that we've gotten to really bring to you experts on different fields that are very relevant with the overarching goal of empowering participants on how to get truth to go viral. And it's really been an amazing time learning from you and everybody. And today we are going to do the same thing. So if you are joining us, please use the chat box to let us know where you are joining us from, and let us know your name and the part of the world that you are joining us from. And today, this session, we are joined by Enrique. Enrique. Now, Enrique, who leads TikTok at Thomson Reuters Foundation's Openly. How are you doing, Enrique?
I'm
Did I
good.
get it right, or?
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very happy to share some
Yes,
time
so
with
we are,
you.
yes, we are really, really glad. We'll come back to Enrique in a moment, and I just want to give our participants some in-house instructions on how to actively engage with us. If you want to interact with us, please use the chat box, and if you have questions, use the Q&A. And I also want to say a big hello to our audience, our participants who are joining us live from Facebook. And if you're watching this Facebook live stream right now, please also engage with us in the comments box below the video that you are watching. There are a lot of things for us to go through today, but before we do that, I would like to bring your attention. We mentioned the fact that at the end of this series, we are going to have our grant application for this project, which is officially kicking off today. And I've been asked to give you all the information that you need regarding this at the outset of this session. So I'm going to quickly give you that information right now, and we also do that at the end of the session. But before we start, so let's quickly get this done with. So if you've been following us, the goal has been bringing ideas together through the Empowering the Truth multimedia project grant. And so what you need to know is that the International Center for Journalists is offering a total of 18 grants for content producers. And what they're going to use this grant for is to develop multimedia projects that break new ground and spread factual information. So like I said, officially today, application is open. And application will remain open until April 16, 2023, while winners of the grant will be announced in early May. And the goal is to test innovative ways to distribute facts. So for eligible candidates, this is where unique eligibility comes in. You are expected to have attended at least 3 Empowering the Truth Global Summit sessions. So if you've attended 2 sessions, today's session with Enrique qualifies you to submit an application. In addition to that, you will also need to upload a letter of support by your news media organization that has agreed to support the proposed project. And we expect you to have a track record of producing digital content. And you're also expected to have knowledge and experience. If you have knowledge and experience in fact checking, is a plus. But I believe you can also still reference this training. You shouldn't be the same again after this training. And so the selected project, like I said, will receive up to $4,000 each per project. And project would also have mentorship. You also have access to mentors who are experts in this field. So if you have your phone right now, this is a QR code that takes you directly to the application portal. And you can also copy that link. I'll also put the link in the comment section during the course of this session. Do not worry. I just want to get this out of the way. At the end of the presentation, we're also going to go extensively to discuss that. But I'll still give you 3 seconds to quickly copy that link, tinyurl.com/ETT-English. So countdown, 3, 2, 1. I'll bring it back, don't worry. So yes, like I said, we are going to go back to this issue. So today, what we are looking at, what we are discussing is TikTok. And if you are following the news over the last couple of days, TikTok has been at the center of attention, especially looking at what is happening in the US. But beyond the US, looking at the global ecosystem, you will agree with me that TikTok has become a major force in the media landscape, and it's almost impossible for any media outlet to say that it is not going to have a TikTok strategy. And that's why we have Enrique with us. But before today, Enrique is going to be teaching us, guiding us on how to use the platform, how to actively use the platform, and with the goal of potentially creating viral stories. So before we go to that presentation, Enrique, what are your thoughts regarding the situation in the US, and how do you see this impacting the platform's global appeal, and what are your thoughts in general?
It will definitely have, if such ban happened, which is not clear yet, it will definitely have a huge impact in the creator economy that has developed around TikTok. The creator economy that has developed on the platform is very different to that of Instagram, for example. There's much more representation of marginalized communities, such as people of color, people with disabilities, queer people. So that will have an impact on that creator economy. And it is not clear, for example, what those people will do if TikTok was banned in the US. We know that when TikTok has been banned in other countries, such as India, a lot of people used VPNs to still access the app. So in practice, it is very likely that most users will still be able to access the app. The question is what happens with all the brand deals and all the professionals that have built a career creating content on the platform.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that submission. And which brings the conversation around media houses having making long-term commitments to platforms, and how a singular policy by any government can actually disrupt that. I remember last year, we always do sessions that focus on reports and what we believe the trend in journalism would be. And report as early as January this year actually mentioned the fact that TikTok will still be a major force to contend with. And so we are beginning to actually increasingly getting concerned. So if you are talking, if any content creator is out there that is discouraged or depressed by the trend, what is your advice for that person?
Well, I would say wait, because it's not clear yet when it's going to happen. And even if TikTok got banned, there will still be opportunities to continue with your business using VPNs, operating in other countries. But for now, I would just say, let's wait to see what actually happens in the US and how that changes the way people consume information and content on the app, because that would be vital for anyone developing or changing their strategy on the app. Whether they, move to another country, at least with VPN, or whether they just like shift their attention to other audiences in other regions. For now, we still don't know. And I think it's still a bit early to be discouraged.
Yeah, so Enrique said it's still a bit early to be discouraged. And so which leads us to that session. So if you have any question, don't worry, you are free to still ask questions on this issue. And Enrique and I, we would try as much as possible to answer as much questions as we have. There are two ways for you to ask questions. You can raise your hand. I really want to see you raising your hand so that you can have the floor and ask your questions in your own words, or you can use the Q&A option on the Zoom platform. And please, I promise Enrique that we have a very engaging audience. Do not let me down. Be as engaging as possible in this conversation. And I want to say a quick welcome and thank you very much, Stephanie from Nigeria for joining us, Rifat from Bangladesh, Patience from Namibia, Chubu from Uganda, Ibrahim from Lebanon, and Hannah from Nigeria, Monica from Spain, Gabriela from Guatemala, Glory Dane from St. Vincent, Ali Yusuf from Ethiopia, Rekia from Nigeria. I see you, Huzwat from Pakistan, and thank you very much, everybody. Antonio from Italy, I can also see you. Sweta from India, and Kate from London in the UK. Thank you very much. Samuel from Zambia, thank you very much for joining us. Danielle from Brazil, Harki from Cambodia, we appreciate you for joining us. I will yield the floor to Enrique for his presentation. Thank you very much. If you've not really written your name and your place you are joining us from, please go ahead and do it. We have a truly global audience that's really ready for Enrique. You have the floor, Enrique.
Can I start now?
Yes, you can share your screen.
So I'm gonna share my screen to move on to the presentation. Let me put it in full screen. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for joining. I'm gonna move on to the presentation shortly in a couple of minutes, but first I wanted to lay out the objectives of this session. Mostly, I think, to me, there are like three big goals, which are very important when we decide what we want to do on TikTok, why we want to be on TikTok, and what we want to be producing for this app. First of all, to identify what your target audiences are, which might sound a bit theoretical, might sound a bit abstract, but it is key when it comes to going viral on TikTok. And in general, when producing, not even when it comes to going viral, but in general, with producing content that is actually relevant for the audiences that you want to reach. Secondly, I would like to talk about native formats, because we all know the kind of social videos that everyone has been posting on Facebook since 2015. So I think in this session, I'm gonna try to focus on how can we use our creativity as journalists, as creators, as reporters, as editors, to create content that feels tangible and relevant for the audiences that we want to reach on the platform. And finally, I would like to talk about the community. The community on TikTok is very important in the sense of the community that follows you. Why do they follow you, and what do they see in you that they don't see in someone else? So let's talk a little bit. In Spain, you would say, let's talk about my book. I've come to sell my book. I'm Enrique. I use he, him pronouns, and I am from Spain, but I live in Berlin, Germany. And currently I'm working as the TikTok lead of the Thomson Reuters Foundation. The Thomson Reuters Foundation is a charitable arm of Reuters, Thomson Reuters. And I am in charge of the TikTok channel that focuses on LGBTQ+ news called Openly. You can Google us if you are interested in the work that we're doing. But let's not talk about me anymore, and let's talk about the reason why you're all here, and that's TikTok. And first of all, I wanted to start asking you if you could write in the chat while I'm talking, how many of you are personally on TikTok? Because I think that's important when it comes to talking about how we use the app. For me, I would say that everyone has different ways through which they arrive to TikTok. For me, TikTok was a very, let's say, at the same time, personal and social story. I arrived to TikTok because of the pandemic. We had, we were all trapped at home. We were bored. My brother's girlfriend was like, hey, I found this app. It's a lot of fun. Let's do it together. I started doing it. And then I discovered that there was a lot of, journalistic potential to it. And especially to reach people that I knew we were not reaching on other platforms, such as from traditional TV to maybe Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, that maybe felt more like native to me, because I grew up as an adult with them. This picture that I chose for this slide is the picture of a 82-year-old Jordanian influencer. She creates content about gardening, cooking, and relationship advice. And to me, it's a great, let's say, it's a great picture to illustrate the message that I wanna convey in this hour, which is that you're never too old for TikTok. So it's wrong what people say, TikTok, you need to get like a creator that's 18, 20 years old. That's wrong. Like, it's not about being young or about being old. Everyone can go viral on TikTok. This 82-year-old creator has almost 300,000 followers, and she's become a star in her region and in her country. And probably the reason why she's become a TikTok star, is because she's been herself. And that's gonna be key, I think, in the rest of the presentation. So right now, there's this data from the Reuters Institute of Journalism. Around 49% of top publishers are now regularly publishing content on TikTok. What does this mean? This means that we are over the time 2 years ago when journalists on TikTok were an exception. When I started doing journalism on TikTok, there were a lot of, let's say, old school journalists that were laughing at what we did. They were saying that it's not journalism. Now not everyone, but half of the world's top publishers are now on TikTok, and most of them have landed on the app in the last year, which proves two things. First of all, that we were right when we tried to reach people in the app. And secondly, that there are a lot of opportunities for all kinds of outlets and all kinds of journalists. And in that sense, that's kind of like also the message that I want to convey, that there is not just one way of doing TikTok. I might focus on some ways that I think are more interesting for us when it comes to fighting disinformation. But I would like to stress that there is not just one way of going viral or one way of doing journalism on TikTok, which might sound obvious, but I think sometimes we forget about that. I would like to ask you now, are your outlets on TikTok? And if they are, what country are they based in? Sometimes I've worked for, currently I work for the Thomson Reuters Foundation. Openly is a global news brand, but we are based in the UK. So right now we have a much more global audience. But at the beginning, it was primarily an UK audience. And I think that's important because it's all about the audience that we want to reach. How do we define our audience? I think that's, the question is, what do we want to reach, right? Do we want to reach young people that are, looking for alternative sources for news? Do we want to find people that subscribe to our channel? Do we want to find people that subscribe to our newspaper? They pay money for news? All those questions, I think you need to ask yourself before going on TikTok, not once you're on TikTok. And in this sense, I think it's also important to stress that you don't have to be on TikTok. I would like you to leave this session saying, I want to be on TikTok. I want to have a news TikTok account. But also, if it does not match your strategy, it might not be cost effective. It's a lot of work. So you really have to keep that in mind. I wanted to look at an example, which is the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is, a big thing in global journalism. They've got 20 million followers on Twitter. On TikTok, they're kind of small. I mean, those numbers are nice, but they're not huge. And the question when I saw that they were on TikTok that I was asking myself is what is the Wall Street Journal trying to do on TikTok? The Wall Street Journal works partly on a subscription model, and their motto for when they want to convince people to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal is get the insights global decision makers trust. So when I saw that, I was like, well, but are global decision makers on TikTok? or what is the Wall Street Journal trying to do? Are they creating new brand awareness among younger users that maybe in 10 or 15 years have the money to buy the Wall Street Journal, to pay for a subscription, and maybe they are decision makers in their country, or most of them, I suppose, are in the US. I think that was, to me, that was a good example of why it's all about the strategy that you want to develop on the app, and why sometimes it can be valid, even though they decided to go on TikTok. And it's probably, if they did it, it was a good decision, that, it might not match your editorial strategy, and that's fine. Just because everyone's doing it doesn't mean you have to do it. There's another example. Yes. This is Context. I don't know if you can see it, but yes. So my question, Context, is the another platform by the Thomson Reuters Foundation, which is focused on climate change, tech and society, and inclusive economies. So sort of like economic inequalities. And I wanted to ask you, if you wanna maybe try to answer the question, whether you think that Context should be on TikTok. Because, right now they don't have a TikTok channel. So, they might be asking themselves, do we want to be on TikTok? And if you think that Context should be on TikTok, why? So, sorry, how do I move on? Okay, yeah. What does the TikTok audience look like? This is an example from the US, which does not apply to other countries. These figures change very much from country to country. In the US, what I found was very relevant. So we see that just over half of the users are 18 to 24 years old, which basically means that Gen Z is on TikTok. In the US, however, I have to say that Snapchat, for example, is much more relevant than in other countries. So that kind of changes the way people consume TikTok. It's very interesting, though, that 40% of the users are aged 25 to 34, which is a figure that is much smaller in countries like Spain or Germany, where I come from and where I live, where TikTok is more a platform for very, very young users, but users that are a little bit older, so people that are 25 to 34, are not really on TikTok, or are not really that often on TikTok. All those things, I think you should take them into account when it comes to deciding whether you want to be on TikTok, but also deciding what kind of content you want to create on TikTok. And we're gonna talk about that later. Something that's also interesting is that, let's say, basically, no one aged 55 or older is on TikTok, only 3.7% in the US. This means that when you decide what kind of things you want to do on TikTok, how you want to write your scripts, what kind of topics you decide that you want to cover, you need to keep this in mind. You need to keep in mind that, your audience will be very young. There might be things they don't know, they haven't lived, which you assume, for example, when you're writing a newspaper. And there also tends to be on TikTok a gender imbalance. So almost all countries, or all countries that I've looked at, most of the audience identifies as a man. TikTok doesn't, I have to say that TikTok doesn't give a non-binary option yet. So let's say all users have to identify either as a man or a woman. And most countries show that there are more male users than female users. However, in the US, this difference is smaller than in other countries, which is interesting. I think a lot of this has to do with the gaming industry, which is a big source of content for TikTok. So it shouldn't necessarily be a reason to be scared if your media outlet is, for example, trying to reach more women, which is one of the priorities of many media outlets right now, to reach more women and to reach more younger people. Doesn't mean that women are not on TikTok. It just means that the gaming industry is very, very attractive for men, also for women, but most users are male, or let's say identify as men. And it's very, very, very big on TikTok. If you are on the app personally yourself, you've probably seen a lot of videos about this topic. So let's talk about the basics of TikTok. And if you think that I'm talking too long about this, please let me know. But I think it's important that we go, some people might not know exactly how the app works. And it's, anyway, in any case, even if you think, even if you know how the app works, I think it's important that we go over the elements that make TikTok different to other platforms. This is a screenshot of our account, Openly News. And this is to the left, you see, if you don't know TikTok, this is how the interface of the app looks. So you have a video, you have a brief description that you can open, you have the name of the account, and then you have the elements to the, let's say, the buttons to interact with to the right. The first key element of TikTok is the For You page. And the For You page is going to define everything that we talk in the next minutes. And hopefully, if you're not on TikTok and you decide to land on the app, it will define your whole work for every single minute that you work on this app. The For You page basically means that what most people see on TikTok is not based directly on what they follow, but on what the algorithm decides that they're interested in. There's also a following page, if you see it to the top, on the top of the screen, but actually most people don't really consume content there. Most people consume content on the For You page, and it is actually the For You page what has made TikTok so popular, and why other platforms like Instagram and YouTube have adopted similar feeds, trying to compete with TikTok. The For You page basically means that just because, let's say, just because you're the BBC and everyone follows you, doesn't mean that everyone's gonna see, everyone that follows you is gonna see what you post. You have to make your content relevant for the people that you want to reach, which might not be always the same people. And you have to play by the rules of the algorithm. Doesn't mean that you cannot be, that there is no room for creativity. Doesn't mean that it's always the same. Just means that you can't anymore post a video and expect that people are gonna see it because you're a big outlet, because you've got 100,000 followers. Very often an account like ours with almost 160,000 followers maybe gets like 2,000 or 3,000 views on a video. And that's because, a lot of people follow us, but they don't look at the following page. They look at the For You page, and maybe that video, for any reason, the algorithm decided that it wasn't relevant for the audiences that we want to reach. This also means that two videos from the same account that we want to reach very different people should be very different. So if you're trying to reach, let's say, young audiences in the US, you might use references, cultural references. You might use, I don't know, like words that might help the algorithm, let's say, send that video to the American For You page, US American For You page. Whereas if you're trying to reach, I don't know, young audiences in, let's say, Pakistan, then you will like use different words. You might use like more like names of places, so that the algorithm thinks, oh, okay, he's mentioned, I don't know, this city, he's mentioned this politician, he's mentioned this famous artist. And then hopefully, automatically, at some point, the algorithm will send the video to those audiences if it considers that it's relevant for them. So the second thing that we need to understand is how does the algorithm work? And there's really no answer for that, or let's say no clear answer for this. Because first of all, just like any other platform, TikTok is changing the way the algorithm works all the time. So there's nothing really that I can tell you right now that will be true forever. When I started, it was all about how short the video was, kind of. And now we see that TikTok is actually kind of pushing longer videos, probably because they're trying to retain other audiences that might not be used to the kind of like snappy format that TikTok started with. But we don't know if in 2 months they're gonna change the strategy. What matters in any case is that the watch time is super important. So you need to keep in mind whenever you're doing a video that you want your audiences to watch it until the end, no matter the video lasts for 8 seconds or the video lasts for a whole minute. it's not because of what we said before. People are not watching the video because they follow you. People are watching the video because the algorithm thought that it was relevant for them. So you need to find ways to keep the video relevant for them for a whole minute. Other aspects that are very important for the algorithm are, first of all, the engagement. And in this sense, I think it's important that you, and then we're going to talk now, that you always think of the kind of engagements that you're going to get when you're producing the video. Like, are you trying to get people to comment and argue about the topic? Are you trying to get people to share the video with friends? Are you trying to get people to just like, or are you, for example, like, this is a very relatively new aspect, the favorite or save option, which is very popular among travel videos, for example, right? Like, so I see a video, things to do in Madrid, and then I know that I'm going to Madrid in 2 months, and then I save it. That's a kind of engagement that might not be, you might never use with a news video because you've seen it, but then tomorrow you don't care about it. But if it's a video that, someone is like, oh, I really want to visit this cool young cafe in Budapest, well, I'm going to save it, and then so that I can find it later and go back to it. All those let's say, dimensions of the engagements, I think it would be great if you could keep them in mind when you are tailoring the video to make them relevant for the people that you want to reach. And in this sense, we come back always to the same point. Who do we want to reach, and how do we want them to react when they see the video? Do we want them to be inspired? Do we want them to debate in the comments? I would like you to remember all of that when you are creating your video. In that sense, TikTok also has brought, which I think Facebook and Instagram were not that good at that, brought together all the new types of engagement. So you have the traditional like and comment buttons, or even share, which was on Instagram and Facebook before. But then you have all these new forms of engagement, which are like native formats, like duets. So where I film a video next to the video that the original creator posted. And sometimes, for example, people just feel super inspired by the original video, and they just want to duet it to share it with their friends. Instead of sharing it directly with a particular friend, they just want to share with everyone that follows them on TikTok. So they duet the video. All these elements are elements that can help you go viral when you are producing journalism. If you're keeping in mind, what could people do with my video? Could they duet it? Would they stitch it? So like, stitch it is a format that people take, let's say 3 to 5 seconds of your video, and then they paste their video on it. So there's like, let's say a politician saying something, and then people stitch it and they give their answer to what the politician is saying. Or for example, you could get super creative and you could be like, I'm going to ask people what they think of this new measure. And then users will stitch the video and they will give their own answer. TikTok offers you a lot of possibilities to be creative, but you need to keep all these ways of engagement in mind if you want people to have the possibility to actually engage with your video. The last thing I wanted to say about the basics of TikTok is the metrics. How do we define success on TikTok? And here I will like it's great to go viral. It makes you feel great to see a 1 million views video, but it's not everything. And you're not on TikTok to go viral with the grown audiences. You want to reach, the cool thing of TikTok is that it's really created to help you reach the people that you want to reach. And that's why it's become so popular among publishers, apart from being so popular among young people. And sometimes it would be better to get, a video that has lower views, but has a very high positive engagement among the people that you want to reach, rather than a video that has 1 million views, but then, only, let's say 50,000 people liked it because most people actually disagree with it. And you've got a comment section that is full of hate comments, for example. That's happened to us in the past. So be careful when you decide how to define yourself on your account, because more views do not necessarily, that might not necessarily match your editorial strategy or the goals in terms of the audiences that you want to reach. So now we come to the question of what should I be doing on TikTok? Like, because there are, as we said at the beginning, like many ways of doing journalism on TikTok. And here are two videos that I did to the same person in a relatively short amount of time in the same channel. One was a very traditional explainer about a news topic, and one was a more dense with my cats, including some information. What I wanted to show here is that there are many ways of reaching your goals, and ideally, when you walk away from this session, you will have gotten an idea of what you think could help you reach your goals better. I can't see the comments right now, but if I'm missing anything, sorry. We can like go back to any questions or everything in the end. Yes, sorry. Native formats versus traditional formats. So what I call a traditional format is actually not that traditional. It's more like this typical social video where it has like, a few text inserts and they're telling you about a new story. And it's the kind of videos that were posted, first of all, originally in a landscape or square format on Facebook and Instagram, and right now they can easily be edited in vertical, and they can really go viral on TikTok, because TikTok right now has probably the highest engagement, or one of the highest engagement rates among all platforms. The question is whether that's going to help us fight the problem of news fatigue that we have among younger audiences, and also tackle the problem of dis and misinformation among Gen Z. It is very easy we've seen how certain online outlets have dedicated themselves by passing as, let's say, impartial, imbalanced journalism to spread fake news stories. And let's say, I would say that online audiences have become a bit wary of publishers, have become a bit wary of journalists sometimes. And I myself, because I also I consider still myself a young person, and I also consume information on the internet. I think many people like me are tired of getting the same traditional formats, news formats again and again on the apps that we log on to when we want to disconnect from work, when we want to disconnect from the newspaper. And that's where I think that native TikTok formats can be a great help when it comes to, first of all, on the one hand, fighting news fatigue. So actually making people interested in news again, and making people feel like they're not passively listening to a broadcaster. And then secondly, tackle the huge problem of dis and misinformation, especially among young people, which are, as we said before, the main users of this platform. There are many ways let's say, many types of videos that we could consider native formats. One is that, let's say, the most obvious is the one that is creator-led, that has a bit of a behind-the-scenes element, and it looks very authentic. So it could be like me, for example, like in front of the German parliament. I live here in Berlin, and I am, instead of like having a traditional social video with a few text inserts saying, the government just passed a new bill that the parliament is discussing to, I don't know, legalize abortion in Germany and decriminalize all forms of abortion, then I could be in front of the German parliament. People know my face, people have been following my content for a while, and I could be telling them, for example, I could be telling them the story, let's say, in a more like human and personal way that let's say a traditional broadcaster could be telling the story. For example, when I moved to Germany, I was surprised that abortion wasn't free. So I'm actually being like surprised that the government has published this law, this draft bill, and that the parliament is discussing it. This is what people think. My friends are mostly in favor of this option, and all the people that I know are mostly against it. So basically, it's a very we could like call it an explainer, but it's more personal, more how do you see the news story from a human point of view without losing your journalistic impartiality. And in this sense, it's obviously very hard because it's very easy to fall into opinions. It's very easy to, sometimes also like get rid of your privilege, for example. But I think it's not impossible, and it can actually be super useful for people that might be bored of I don't know, like impersonal traditional broadcasters that tell the news the way they saw it at their grandparents' home 20 years ago, and now they actually feel like the news are much closer to them. Other native formats include, so this one that I talked about is the easiest one that you can develop. Other native formats involve much more creativity, and as I said before, they can imply using in-app features such as the duet or the stitch, or using like native forms of TikTok storytelling, such as like trending songs. You can use dances that people are doing. You can use like native references of like things that are happening on the app. You can use like native language that you will never use on Instagram, or that you will never use on Twitter, because people don't know what those words mean, or like why people are acting that way on TikTok. But if you are on the app, you can use that to tell your news stories. And for that, it is important. And that's why I asked initially that you are on the app. I personally am very skeptical of people who try to do journalism on TikTok without being on the app, because I think it's all about respecting our audiences. And in order to respect your audiences, you have to like be there where they are. And you can't just, from your editing suite in your office, be producing videos and then just like leaving them on the app, and then never caring about like how people actually behave in that app. I would like to take a moment now to ask you, and I will look at the answers later, if any of you has had experience with any of these formats. So has any of you like tried any native formats, maybe like creator-led, which are the easier ones, or maybe you've tried to like tell new stories with trends, with songs, with music. I think if you could share that, that would be super useful for everyone. And also sometimes maybe even the frustrations while using that, because I personally have found that, there are trends that worked for me, there are trends that didn't, and it took me a while to figure out why some worked and why some didn't work at all and flopped systematically. In the meantime, because we were talking about journalistic creativity, I wanted to show a good example by one of my favorite accounts, which is the Washington Post, of using these formats that I talked before, the duet. So the duet, let's remember, it was this format in which Enrique posted a video doing whatever, and then Paul decides to post another video where he's talking or doing anything or not doing anything, just like pointing at Enrique while he's talking, or Paul is just like making faces like, what is this person saying? Please shut up. So it became huge on, it actually has become quite huge on TikTok, that singers use this to, let's say, produce songs together. So one person does the tenor, one person does the bass, like deeper voices, higher voices. So I'm gonna show you an example of how users, so TikTok users, not journalists, have used this to create music. Begin to wonder why if someone said 3 years from now you'll be long gone. Okay. I've watched that like 100 times. I'm obsessed with that video. And the Washington Post decided, so why not use this format to talk about this duet feature, to talk about a very serious topic, like, and also like a very current topic in the US, which is mass shootings. So they decided to do this. I found that amazing because it's very simple. It's just like one of their main hosts just like, you know, showing sheets of paper. So it's like it really takes no work. Well, it actually takes a lot of work because there's a lot of creativity behind it. But it looks super simple. So it doesn't look overproduced. It doesn't look super polished. It doesn't look like, you know, like it has documentary quality. It looks like any other person at their place with sheets of paper that they printed. And but they actually like making the story so much bigger, but just duetting the story every time a mass shooting happens, because it gives you a more, as a user, a more tangible idea of how big of a problem this is, instead of just like one news story or one video. Well, so I wanted to say something, but let's look at another example of how I try to do the same. Even I think I'm not as good as the Washington Post. So there was this like viral song which was called the Counting Song, and it's just like this super well-known TikTok guy that is like dancing while counting, and he decided to do this. Is he gonna play?
Yeah. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Okay, so it's just like, for him it was funny how many sources you have, right? Like if you're like, I don't know, if you are Spanish, you're probably gonna be like, how many like shirts you have, whereas if you're German, you probably have like 2. But I was like, how can we use this in our journalism? So we are an account that covers LGBTQ plus news, and we thought when I think it was when Chile legalized same-sex marriage, we were like, I was asking myself, how many countries have legalized same-sex marriage already? I was like, oh, it actually fits the zone, because, and it's actually a question that people like me, young people, might be asking themselves. So why not, instead of just like being mean there, I mean, here are the countries that have legalized same-sex marriage, which is boring. Let's use a song that people are having fun with on TikTok and educate them about a question that they're actually asking themselves.
Yeah. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, 33.
So that worked really well. I was very happy with that. And I think it's a good example of, from a humble point of view, it's not good that I say it's a good example, but really, I was like at home thinking, how do I cover this news story without saying this country has done this? How can I like creatively make people care about this news story while at the same time having fun with my content? This is very important, I think, especially if you are not a big news brand, or if your news brand has no brand awareness among young people or among the audiences that you wanna reach. That's a problem that I've had with in the two, let's say, with the 2 broadcasters that I've worked with on this platform, which was Deutsche Welle, and which is Germany's international broadcaster, and now Openly. Because at Deutsche Welle, DW, we were trying to reach young Americans, which obviously don't know DW. You know, older people know DW because it's been there for like 60 or 70 years. But 18-year-olds in Texas or in Tennessee have no idea who DW is, and why should they care about an account about life in Berlin? And same with Openly. Openly was born 3 or 4 years ago. It did not exist on TikTok. Our audience is mostly, you know, people a bit older that care about human rights, and, you know, young people, and 16, 17, 18-year-olds in the US, in the UK, in Eastern Europe, which is a big market for us. They didn't know us because either they were not on Twitter, or they, you know, they had no direct connection with maybe the stories that we were doing. for us, this creativity was a way to reach these people, and to build, I think, to build this brand awareness of, oh, I don't know, I don't follow them. I would say it's very easy that people follow you if you are already well known. That doesn't mean that they're going to engage with your content. If you're not a news brand, it's much harder. Sorry, a well-known news brand, it's much harder that people follow you. But TikTok is an opportunity because it is based on how good your video, how well your video is tailored for the algorithm, and not on how many people follow you. It's a good opportunity for those of us that are, still building that brand awareness, to do it in a successful way. There are many ways you can use creativity. I don't know how much time do we have. We only have like 10 minutes, right, Paul?
Yes. How many more slides do you have?
Okay, so I'm gonna show a couple, and then I'm gonna move on to the last points that I wanted to make before leaving. Or I'm just gonna show one.
Don't worry, it's okay.
Okay, so I wanted to show this one that actually I didn't make it, but my former manager made it, because I think it was a very good way of turning an interview into a kind of content that feels native to the people that are consuming it, and they don't feel like they're watching a traditional interview that is basically filmed the same way it would have been filmed for TV or would have been made for a newspaper. So in this case, she went to a former concentration camp in Germany, and she was interviewing the guy that works there, one of the tourist guides. And instead of just asking him what it is like or how people behave, she was like, okay, I'm gonna ask him to talk about the 3 things you should never do when you go to a concentration camp, which is basically asking the same thing in a different way.
3 things you should never do at a former concentration camp. Number 1, don't forget where you are. In this concentration camp, thousands of people were killed. Don't worry about your outfit. We don't have a dress code, but do worry about your shoes.
The ground isn't meant to be easy to walk on here because stones like this one symbolize the pain and the suffering that the prisoners had to endure.
Don't judge how others behave.
There was a family who took pictures of their toddler in the exhibition, which seems inappropriate, but this toddler's great-grandfather had been killed here.
This was the way of the family to say, we're living despite the murder of our relative.
I hope you liked it. I think it was a great video. Another really good way, of course, you have trends. I'm not gonna go through trends because if you don't know, it's gonna be a bit complicated, but please keep an eye on them because they are very useful because the algorithm boosts them. It's all about figuring out which trends work for you and which don't. A format that I really like though for journalism, and I'm gonna show it quickly because I think it's going to be very useful for you, is sketches, because I think or skits, there are 2 words for that, because I think they're a great way of bringing stories to life and making them more tangible for the audiences that you want to reach. So instead of as a journalist, I'm telling you that this happens, I'm just bringing the story of a person that's affected, in theory, by the story, I'm bringing it to life. So it starts point of view, which is POV, this TikTok thing. You're gay in Germany and you're trying to donate blood.
Want to donate blood? Are you gay? Entschuldigung, do you have sex with men? I mean, sometimes, but that's none of your business. Well, in Germany, gay and bi men who want to donate blood face restrictions that straight people don't. The gay blood banks make no scientific sense with the latest screening technology. And the Red Cross just said that some parts of the country are facing a serious shortage of blood supplies. The law is the law. Well, I've got news for you. Germany's health minister just announced the government will scrap all restrictions on queer men and trans people donating blood.
To me, this is a very useful tool because it allows me to showcase the different sides of a story. So it kind of strengthens my impartiality as a journalist, but it doesn't feel like a broadcaster telling a story to a user. It feels like in an entertaining video, actually. So it's something that I think can be very useful when fighting news fatigue among people that, they're tired from working 8, 9, 10 hours. They open the phone and they're like, ugh, news again. No, there's just something actually entertaining and they're learning with that. the importance of your community. So what the reason why I included this slide is that I wanted to highlight that because TikTok is based in this algorithm, it very often is about like the relationship that you have with your community, and you have to like, or let's say you should try to really keep this in mind when you're producing your videos, but also when you are let's say deciding the strategy of your account, keeping in mind not only the people you want to reach, but also how you want to keep them engaged with your content in the long run, because at some point you're not going to be new anymore, and how you're going to make them feel like in a safe space, in a valuable space, compared to other news brands that are already also on the app. There are many ways that I think are, let's say there are many tools that you can use to like improve or you know, like deepen your relationship with your community. The most obvious is community management. Community management is super useful on TikTok, not only because it's useful always, but because for the first time, I would say, not maybe, this is a bit, maybe it's not true, but what TikTok has forced us journalists to do is to stop talking down to our audience and start talking directly at them, basically engaging in a conversation with them, compared to more traditional platforms or formats where, you know, it was more like, I tell you how things are and this is it. Here, the relationship that you have with your audience is super important. And in that sense, community management and being open to feedback, even if they're criticizing you, is super important, which is actually not hard if you're showing from the beginning that you're human. And as a journalist, you can also make mistakes, and there can also be other perspectives. And there might have been things that you missed. People on TikTok really, really appreciate this, and really, really appreciate it when you say, oh, we didn't see that. Instead of, you know, when I started doing journalism, this was not the attitude on other platforms. Trying out native TikTok features, again, is super useful to keep, you know, like a healthy and positive relationship with your community, because your community uses of those features when they are posting their own content. So it feels like a more like equal relationship with them. You can use their comments to reply with videos. You know, if you didn't, you know, if you talked about, I don't know, what the government wants to do to fight climate change, you can cover a few topics, and then when someone says, oh, they also want to do this, you can use their comments to deepen your coverage. You can use it to go further. Instead of traditionally you would have done a piece where you cover everything, and you can like even purposefully say, I'm not going to cover everything, I'm going to do part 1, and then say people maybe comment for part 2 and I'll tell you more. And that way people feel like their feedback and their participation matters. I think that's very important for, you know, in order to keep like a long-term relationship with your audience. Your audience can also be a great way of, a great form of news gathering, in the sense of, you know, sometimes we all know what happens in the US, what happens in the UK, but for global news platforms like mine, sometimes it happens that stories in I don't know, Kenya, Pakistan, Ecuador, they're underreported because the big news agencies do not pay them all the attention that they deserve. Your users are super useful. They're gonna be the first one to tell you, can you please cover this story that just happened in my country? They really do that. They're very proactive in doing that. And it can be a great tool because you can get there sometimes before Reuters and AFP and AP do. And then finally, lives are super powerful, maybe not to go viral, but they are very powerful to build this relationship of trust between you and your audience, because it's a great opportunity to be more human and to, you know, to show the human side of journalism, to show, for example, you know, we published a story about, you know, an investigation about, I don't know, like the way the European Union treats migrants. Journalists can go live and can go deeper into the details of the story, and that way people are much more likely to read an investigation that it takes them 15 minutes to read. But because they saw the journalist talking about it on TikTok, now they're like, oh, I actually care about this because this is like much more closer to me than I initially thought when I saw the headline on Google or on the newspaper or on Twitter. Yeah, I think we're almost done. The last thing that I wanted to say is that your mental health is more important than the algorithm. And what do I mean by this? What I mean is that if you do not have a balance in terms of your work and your TikTok journalism and your own mental health, you're not gonna be able to be creative. Being on TikTok means being very exposed, especially if you're trying these new, more creative native formats. If you're exposing yourself as a journalist, if you're exposing your humanity and sometimes even your vulnerability with stories that really touched you, with stories that were hard to report on, you also need to protect yourself. This is, in a sense, a call on the one hand for the journalists that are watching this to protect themselves. There are different tools, but basically it's don't read all the comments. Do not listen to what the comments are saying. But also make sure that you have time to disconnect from the app because there's much more in this world beyond the comment section, which can sometimes be very painful. But also to the editors and the managers. I've been very lucky to work with bosses that were super supportive, very protective, and made sure that I had enough, of a support system to cope with times that were hard. There have been times where I cried because of what people said about me or about my colleagues on the app, because they were very harsh. There were times that I couldn't take what was happening in the comment section. And in that sense, it is important that the editors and the managers are supportive of their journalists that are, in the end, the ones that are exposing themselves. And then this is a few final tips that if you want to screenshot it, if you want to just write it down, go to the point, make it tangible, and be yourself. Go to the point. The good thing of TikTok is that it's shorter than YouTube, so no need to make a longer video. What's a story? Why is it relevant? What do people need to know? Do I want more? Is it maybe worth doing it in a part 2? Really, you're competing. This is not a social media platform. It's an entertainment platform. You're competing with cat videos, famous TikTokers, thirst traps. You need to make your story relevant. So going to the point is actually the best advice that I can give you. Make it tangible. Why should people care? This is not the journalism of 30 years ago where people will be watching the TV from the sofa. Why will people care about what you're posting? Why are they gonna watch that instead of the cutest cat video they've ever seen in their life? You need to make it very tangible for them. And in that sense, it sounded theoretical, but it's the most important part of this app. You need to know your audience and you need to know what matters to them. That doesn't mean that that's the only thing you can cover, but that has to be your guide when developing the strategy and when, tailoring your content for them. And then be yourself. I'm not trying to be the Washington Post. I'm not trying to be Vice News. I'm not trying to be the BBC. There's a reason why people openly follow me. And they might also follow them, but there's a reason why they engage with my videos. They didn't have to. They get my videos because the algorithm thought that the video was interesting for them, and they engaged with it. So I think that the lesson from TikTok is that, which might not have been so obvious in other platforms, was that authenticity really matters in journalism, and that doesn't mean that you cannot be impartial. That doesn't mean that you cannot be balanced. But being yourself, I think it's actually going to make a difference with the level of competition that there is right now on the app. And yeah, that's all. Oh my God, that was a lot of talking.
Thank you. You made it through and you landed really safely. So can you stop sharing your screen for a moment while you can catch your breath and yeah.
I'm sharing, right?
Yes. You can stop sharing the screen. Yes, so for everybody, we are going to come back. We are going to come to the question and answer session. And I always encourage you to even ask your question live. So please do raise your hand so you can ask. The quickest way to jump the queue is for you to raise your hand and ask your questions directly. But I would like you to quickly do something as we've been doing in every session that we've had. We have a quick survey that we want you to help us with, and is it, as you've known, it's just one question. So please click the link that is coming, click the link that I just dropped in the chat box right now. Just click it. Just the question is, you're not even typing, you're just selecting. So please, and quickly fill that while I get and I sort out the questions. And we have one hand raised already, so which is Benish, Javed, and Callisto. So okay, let's quickly take the raised hands, but please just click the link I just dropped in the chat box. It's really, really important. We would really love to hear from you. So Benish, your mic is open. Ask your question live, please. Thank you very much.
Hi, Enrique. It was a wonderful presentation. I'm also based in Berlin, and I work for Deutsche Welle, and I heard that you also gave an example of DW. My question to you is, how often should I, if I want to make my own TikTok account, and I'm very clear about what I want to do, how often should I create content? Because one problem or one hindrance is before creating a TikTok account, and I'm a journalist, so I definitely want to create journalistic content. I'm always reluctant and scared that I might not be able to do it every day. Or so what is, in your opinion, the best frequency that I should keep in mind if I want to start a TikTok account? Thank you.
Well, I think the answer is as often as you can. If you're not, it doesn't make sense to start posting 5 videos a week if you're only going to be able to do that for 2 weeks, and then you're going to post 1, and then you're going to post 2 the week after, and then you're going to post none, and then you're going to post 5. So I would say that find the balance between the time that you have and what you can create. And you can, it's always, you need to assume that you have limited resources, you have limited time. And what works for some creators, it works posting every day. I think there's actually no rule to that. Like for a while, it was like, you have to post 3 times a day. That's crazy. Like there's no way you can create like valuable content posting 3 times a day, because no one has that much time unless you have like a 5-person team. So I would say find a balance that is like, how much can, what is a sustainable relationship with my account? How many videos can I produce a week that are good? So not just videos that are just, I post this and then it's actually not good, and then people are not going to engage with it. Are you going to be able to post 1 video a week? Then do that. I think that's enough. But if you don't have that sustainable relationship with your workflow, that's not going to work in the long run. So I don't think, I'm sorry that I can't give you a more like definite answer, but I think the good answer and the responsible answer is whatever works for you, that's the right answer.
Yes, so Benish is happy with your answer. So we go to Callistus. Callistus, where are you joining us from, and what is your question?
Hi, I'm Callistus Bosaletsi from Botswana. My interest only is to know, we have journalists have quite done brilliantly in terms of volunteerism, and nowadays when we invest our time, really, we also need to get something out of it. And I wanted to know if TikTok offers journalists or content creators access to monetization of content.
Okay, so there are many ways to answer this. I would say that TikTok is not a good platform to directly monetize content in the sense of directly getting money from the video that you're posting. It is, though, a good platform for brand deals. So it sort of depends on the relationship that you can develop with brands. But this is more valuable for influencers, right? Like imagine like, let's say a 20-year-old woman that like really likes makeup a lot and loves spending lots of time like talking and trying different makeup products, you know, she's not gonna get a lot of money from TikTok directly from the views, but she might get a lot of money from the deal that she gets from the makeup companies. What does that mean for us journalists, right? So that's what everyone wants to hear. I don't think you can make money directly from TikTok, and I don't think that TikTok is a good platform to directly monetize your journalism. I think that your strategies should go in other directions. For me, I started TikTok. I started a personal TikTok channel where I made, let's say, funny jokes about politics, not always being impartial-ish. And then my managers and former managers saw it and they were like, that's amazing. We want to do that in our personal channel. So in our professional channel, more from a, like more journalistic, maybe less personal, but basically that style. So for me, having a personal TikTok account that I actually never really strategized so much because I was like back at the beginning of 2020. So no one was really like so aware of which direction was TikTok going to take. But for me, it meant opening a lot of opportunities that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And to be honest, how to say this? Traditional media outlets have been very conservative when it comes to giving opportunities to young people until TikTok exploded. It like exploded in sense of like succeeded. So for me, it meant a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have been access to otherwise.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah,
so we'll go to Stephanie. Stephanie, you have the floor. Where are you asking the question from?
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm actually from Nigeria. Yeah, so can I go ahead? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. We are struggling to hear you. Enrique, can you hear Stephanie?
Barely, but if you can like write the question or
okay,
because it's kind of
is it better now?
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes, it's better now. Thank you.
Okay, I was just in the headphone before. So my question is, you mentioned about using relevant keywords or words in the video so that it gets to the For You feed as opposed to the following. So my question is, do you use those words in creating the video, maybe captions or in captioning the video? Like, do you include it in the video as text on screen or in words, or do you add it as a caption? And also, speaking of captions, is it necessary to use hashtags and trending hashtags or create your own hashtags to make it viral? Or do you have to like always go with a challenge that's already out there? Can original content or like new original content, can it actually go viral, or must it have to be something that's already trended before it can go viral?
Good question. And it's a hard one. So I always use all the words that I consider to be keywords, both in the caption, so like let's say that the subtitles, and in the description of the video, and if possible also in a headline, in a text insert, because TikTok reads all those elements. Even sometimes like when you Google stuff, sometimes and then you Google stuff that is not even in the description of the video, but is in the headline or in the spoken part, so in the subtitles, that will appear on Google, which is surprising. So even the Google algorithm can read all the text elements of TikTok. So it's super important that you have, first of all, the let's say what we call captions, which are the subtitles. That's super important. and that you mention things. Please don't mention, if you're doing a video about the legalization of cannabis, do not mention it because they're going to take it down. So find another way. That's not the right way to go in that case. But when it comes to, I don't know, let's say the German government is planning on, I don't know, abolishing nuclear energy. You need to have Germany, you need to have government, you need to have, if possible, the name of the prime minister. You need to have maybe climate change, you need to have nuclear energy as often as possible, and especially in the description. And that has become more and more important in the, let's say, 6 months, because SEO is playing a growing role in the way the algorithm works. Regarding hashtags, that's a bit harder. I would say that I prefer, I always avoid big hashtags. So in my experience, for example, I do LGBTQ plus content. I don't use hashtag LGBTQ because that's not concrete. So if it's a travel video, I do LGBT travel, or I do lesbian travel, for example. If it's, I don't know, a video about, I don't know, sorry, like LGBT rights in Germany, then maybe like LGBT Germany or even Berlin. It's more specific because there's more likely that someone that gets that video feels that it's more relevant to them. So I would say, in general, avoid big hashtags and go for the hashtags that are more specific, or at least that are smaller, that might be relevant for the audience. Of course, they always have to be relevant. Sometimes it even helps if you're trying to reach other countries to use hashtags in that language. So sometimes we did videos about Greece, and we used, Italy, and we used hashtags in Italian, because Italians don't really speak English that well, same as Spaniards. So it's very likely that a lot of the content that they consume is in Italian. And if we want Italians to engage with that content compared to maybe Brits or Americans engaging with content about Italy, and that's why, again, the audience in mind, when you do a story about Italy, do you want foreign audiences to watch it, or do you want people in Italy to watch it? So that's what I do. If I want to reach locals, I use hashtags in Italian, for example.
Okay, thank you. We go to Sonja. Sonja, you have the floor.
Yes, hi, thank you for this wonderful insights. I have a question. I am running an online newspaper for children, and children, of course, are on TikTok and are our primary audience for TikTok news. My question is, what to do if you don't have anyone who is willing to appear in front of camera? We tried with children, like my daughter, it didn't work. We tried with 16-year-old, didn't work. With 18-year-old, with 24-year-old, didn't work. Because they're always reluctant to appear. So my latest idea is to have like animated face of our content, like a mascot. So I was just wondering, what do you think about that? Thank you very much.
I would say if you have no one that wants to be on camera, then maybe do not try the creative formats that require someone to be on camera, because it's going to be a lot of work. And it might just be better to do like, more traditional, let's say traditional, like maybe like a video with B-roll and voiceover, which is still a bit more native than the traditional, let's say, social videos with text inserts. Because you don't have someone, let's say a person, you don't the possibility to create personality-driven or creator-driven videos. And that's not necessarily bad. A lot of people are doing that very successfully. The question to me is like, depending on your audience, how much is, I personally think that news fatigue is a huge problem among young people, and I'm trying to do those videos as little as possible because I don't want them to feel the news again. But again, if that's the only possibility you have, that's going to be better. And it's actually going to be cheaper probably and faster than getting someone on camera, and that person learns the scripts and gets prepared and tries many times and then does the edit. So I think, as I said, like there's not just one way of doing TikTok. You have to see what works for us. But I wouldn't animate a character unless you have a very, so there's this account that is called Queer Chameleon, and it's like a rainbow chameleon that like educates people about LGBTQ plus issues. It's become huge, but it's always the same character. People know it, it's super cute, it explains things in a very simple way. I think that's a great idea, but then do you have a character that's as strong? And are you gonna use always that character? If that's the case, then you have to like build a whole news brand around that animated character. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. I think as a user, if I saw that, I was like, why is BBC using now an animated goat and then an animated cat, and then like I would be like confused. But you know, it could be a strategy. You know, we can talk about it one day. But I would say, you know, do not try to be on camera if you don't have anyone to be on camera. Just focus on the things that you can actually do that are good.
So we have Antonio Grassano and Kate Marais on the floor.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. I would like to ask a question.
Yes.
So first of all, thank you for the presentation. It's really useful and obviously practical. So this is great. So I have a question regarding the language. So Erika, you spoke earlier about the fact that sometimes you need to use your native language, and I really don't know how to use my native language, but also at the same time give a foreign perspective about the theme. Is it possible to use a bilingual point of view, or is there any other strategy I could use, or do you recommend? Thank you.
I wanted to think about that, then also take Kate's question, so you take both questions together. Right. Kate, you have the floor.
Hello. I am interested in just chatting about safety and community. So one of the interests that I have in terms of TikTok is that there is a lot of community building, and especially in minority communities. So one of the things I'm interested in is seeing how people are building connections with each other. But what do we need to consider in terms of safety to others in other parts of the world, in terms of their visibility and safety in terms of connecting with us? If that makes any sense.
Can you take a third one, Enrique?
Yeah.
Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Just a quick one. I'm not on TikTok, but I do come across content from TikTok on platforms like Facebook. So my question would be, is there a consideration when you're creating, content on TikTok, keeping in mind that it will probably end up finding itself on other platforms, and that, relates to things maybe like duration and the format that the video itself should take. Thank you very much.
Enrique, over to you.
Yeah, cool. Okay, can I start answering?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so languages and other audiences. So I would say that figure out who you want to reach in every video. So in each video, and find the mix. It's kind of hard because I would say that I always work in English, even though sometimes I want to reach local audiences, because that's, I work for an outlet in English. When I do videos for my personal channel, however, I mix English and Spanish sometimes because I want to maybe reach people in Spain because it's more relevant for them, because I'm from there, or the topics that maybe foreigners don't care about, foreigners like non-Spanish people. So what I do is that I mix the languages so that the algorithm identifies 2 different languages in the video, which probably will make it pop up on 2 different For You pages if it identifies a local For You page. So like if it's in Spanish, then it needs to identify, is it Spanish, or is it reaching, like Mexican or Colombian or audiences? So I would say definitely mixed languages if you want to reach audiences in different languages. But also what we mentioned before, use the text inserts for the algorithm to identify as many elements that they can link, so to create a link between your video and the audience. So use all of those elements, text inserts, hashtags, the language in your script, I don't know, even the sun, like, you know, you can put like a music underneath. Maybe your video is in English, but there's like this new Rosalia song trending in Spain, then you use that, and then in the hope that, you know, foreign audiences see it, but people in Spain also see it because the song is trending. And when a song is trending, if a lot of people use it, then videos that use the same song pop up on their For You page. I think that's all that you can do. Apart from, in the end, it all comes down to making your video relevant to the audiences that you want to reach. That's all that matters in the end. Like, the rest are just like small tips, but it's all about how do you make your story relevant for the people that you want to reach. Community safety is a big question. So this is a decision. So, okay, so it depends on how you see it, as a personal, you know, a journalist in your personal account, or as a media outlet. As a media outlet, I will say that many outlets have decided that their strategy is to make their target audiences feel safe in the comment section, for example. So, you know, we allow free speech, but we're not going to allow people to disrespect other people, right? Especially because, for example, there are a lot of outlets right now in Europe that want to reach more women, more younger people, more, you know, marginalized communities like people of color, people with disabilities, queer people. These are communities that, especially women, that experience more online abuse. If your comment section is full of hate, those people are not gonna come up and participate in the debate. They're just gonna like say, I'm not gonna get myself in here, especially not in an account with my name and my photo. So that's so an approach that many people are taking, and that I personally am a big fan of, is to create safety in the comment section. Because yes, it's about free speech, but it's also about everyone having equal chances of participating. And this doesn't mean that you delete an opinion that you don't like, not at all. But it means that you curate an atmosphere where everyone can participate without fear of online abuse, which we know affects different people differently. The less privileged are more affected by online abuse, for example, in the comment sections. That's, I think, my take on community safety, because basically your community is in the comment section. So it's all about the strategy that you, or the policy that you adopt in the comment section. The third one, other platforms, yes. So other platforms, definitely your video is going to end up in other platforms. So this is kind of like, depends on the production strategy that you decide for your whole outlets. There are outlets that have enough resources to produce stuff that is adapted for each platform. I would say that for Facebook, you probably need a slower paced video and a bit longer. Whereas on Instagram Reels, even if the audience is a bit older, you could probably still use the TikTok the way it is. I, for example, do many TikToks that might not have as much potential on TikTok, but I think they're gonna work really well on our Instagram page, because we're gonna have a collab with the person that we interviewed. So I definitely keep other platforms in mind, because we are a team, you know, it's not, you know, I'm not competing with my colleague. So I want us all to benefit from that. And sometimes actually, like, our reels are basically the TikTok copy pasted there. They like work better there. But I'm doing TikTok. I'm paid to make TikToks. So obviously my main focus is TikTok, but I definitely keep it in mind, because it can be a great growth tool for other platforms as well.
Yeah, thanks, Enrique. To our audience, I'm still going to go through the information regarding the grant application again. So, but we are really running out of time. So, Enrique, I want to challenge you to 3-second commitment per question. We have a lot of sent in questions already. So 3-second commitment, try. So the first one goes thus. Do you think when we want to create a content, we should take into consideration it must be simple to reach all ages on the platform. So this is talking about strategizing on the language of your content development. What do you think?
I think no. I think you should take into consideration the people that you want to reach. And if you want to reach all the audiences, then make it for them. If you want to reach everyone, then yes. But if I work for a platform or for a news outlet whose main focus right now is reaching young people. So I'm not going to take into consideration people who are 70, not because they don't deserve information, but mostly because they actually consume information in other places. So there's no reason why I should make my TikTok content for them if I want to be strategic.
Thank you for that. The next question. You're doing well. Next question. Don't you think we should rather try to educate young children, young audiences to learn to read longer forms, text-based? I think it's often impossible to explain complex and historic defining issues in a 1-minute video binge-watched between cats and silly dance videos. Don't you think there is a risk of bowing to today's cultural decline by over-relying on TikTok as a means of news distribution?
I see where you're coming from with the word in cultural decline. I don't think there's enough evidence to claim that there is a cultural decline. Maybe the part of culture that we call decline, we just didn't see it before, but now it's viral on TikTok. I would say that my personal opinion has always been that TikTok is a great tool to offer information that is digestible in the time that people use TikTok for, but it's also a great tool to amplify other formats. Like I explained before, like, you can dedicate a whole life to TikTok Live, to like going in depth into the way you reported an investigation. What we do sometimes is when we publish a story on our website, the reporter that reported and worked on the story and met the protagonists and all of that makes a 1-minute maybe explainer about it, giving some detail, and we end with, if you want to know more, read the story. I don't think it substitutes traditional written or video journalism. I think it's just a tool to reach people that you were not reaching already.
How long does it take to produce a video for TikTok?
It's a question that all bosses want to know, because they want to know how much time they give people to make videos. I think it depends. There's a lot of work that you don't see. Or that, let's say, when you see the account and you're like, oh, there's like one video and it only got 2,000 views. Well, maybe that took like 6 hours to make and it's only 8 seconds, because there's a lot of like creativity. There's a lot of like back and forth with the editor. What's the right wording? We have our editors, like for let's say scripts, descriptions, all of that are the same than the editors that check text articles, and we are bounded by the same standards that Reuters news agency. It takes a while, like, for editors to go through the scripts. So I would say that for let's say an explainer, around 40-45 seconds, that is creator-led, that takes a little bit of research, the scripting, the editing, the filming. You have to get to the place where you're filming. Again, if I have to get to the German parliament from my home, it takes 40 minutes at least, if it's not raining. And you have to come back, you have to edit, you have to get the approval. So I would say at least for that kind of videos, 1 day, and you gotta be fast.
You're trying. I'll give you that with the timing. Yeah, the next question. Can you produce videos for TikTok that are not creator-led?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before, but you can definitely do like the more we have. If you look at our accounts, we have actually more and more, because they work well, but I think they have their limitations when it comes to disinformation and news fatigue. but we have many videos that are not creator-led. They're more like a voiceover and like cool B-roll that feels engaging for people, and maybe especially stories that are maybe like inspiring, or maybe you just want to interview a protagonist and you don't have to be in the video. Maybe the protagonist can like sum up the story that you know, a text story, and the protagonist is like summing up a part of the story. So you definitely do not need a creator. I think it helps, and I think it particularly helps if you don't have a big brand awareness before, and if you know you want to cultivate this community, but it's not a must. You don't have to be on camera. There's nothing you have to do.
Okay, the next question. Would TikTok be a good outlet to launch a digital show in a format that is several videos, a couple of minutes each, almost like streaming news service offered in the US, but strictly living on TikTok? In other words, a digital newscast broken in short clips, a couple minutes each.
I would say 30 seconds each. I don't see why people will follow if they don't know you already. A new account whose name they don't know where it comes from, they don't know why they should trust the account that lasts for so long. I will start doing shorter videos, 30 seconds, 45, 1 minute maybe. Still, that's already a bit too long for the launch, and see how that goes. But I mean, it's kind of like the same that we talked, you know, like little B-roll and the voiceover, and then you can do it. The question is like, think of the people that you want to reach. They're like workers that, and they've been working for like 9 hours, and they get home, they open TikTok. Is that what they want to see? Is that what you want to see when you get home and you're tired and you just like, because you don't open TikTok to see serious news. I open TikTok to see cats, you know, so I just like, you definitely can, but I will say, take another minute to think of your audience, put yourself in their place, and maybe you yourself will find ways to improve the idea.
Thank you for that. Probably the last one that I can take right now. Apologies to everybody. How can investigative journalists create content without breaking the TikTok community guidelines or getting in trouble with the law?
Oh, well, like I'm not sure what they're referring to. I've never broken the community guidelines, or I actually have, but because the community guidelines of TikTok are very arbitrary, and sometimes, you know, I can give you an example. We did a video about Russia's anti-LGBT propaganda law, and then TikTok tagged it as a video that was promoting that, and we were reporting about that, but in a way that was very creative, and it was not maybe immediately obvious for a machine. So, you know, the community guidelines are a bit complicated to deal with sometimes. To be honest, we talked to them and they like removed that, so it was fine in the end. But I don't see why investigative journalism necessarily needs to break the community guidelines. I would be worried about images that are violent, that are likely to be taken down, or like nudity, definitely very annoying. Not because, you know, not because of pornography, but because sometimes it's not nudity, it's just like, you know, maybe like a feminist protest, and then women are protesting because male torsos can be seen but female torsos can't, and then TikTok will censor that because it will consider that nudity or pornography. So I would say that the barriers are not specific to investigative journalism, but more to the community guidelines that definitely can be very annoying, but you always find yourself around that. We reported a lot about Germany's plans to legalize cannabis, and we just like didn't see it, and he was like, you know, we're like showing like a leaf, and it was like kind of obvious to people that what we're talking about. You know, just like that's what creativity is for. And it's not no place is perfect. No, same as no media outlet is perfect. Regarding the law, that does not depend on TikTok. That depends on the country. TikTok operates in a country, and if a country doesn't allow freedom of expression or freedom of press, I'm afraid that that's not TikTok's fault.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll come back for your last remarks, and I just want to implore all our attendees to please go to the chat box. I've put up the link. Once again, we want to hear from you about your thoughts on this session. And on that note, I would also like to go through the entry guidance for the grants that we mentioned about. So with today being the last webinar in the series, in the Empowering the Truth Global Summit series, I'm glad to announce that applications are now officially open for the Empowering the Truth Multimedia Project grants. And this is what you need to do. This is what you need to be aware of. The International Center for Journalists is offering 18 grants for content producers to develop multimedia projects that break new ground and spread factual information. Application, which is now open, will remain open until April 16, 2023, and winners will be announced in early May. And the goal of these initiative is to test innovative ways to distribute the fact. And eligible candidates, for you to really to qualify to participate, you must have attended at least 3 Empowering the Truth Global Summit sessions. You also need to upload a letter of support that is duly signed by a news media organization that has agreed to support the proposed project. The third criterion is that you need to have a track record of producing digital content, and a desired quality in an applicant is your knowledge and experience in fact checking. And winning project, so it's not just one project that we are looking forward to supporting. We are supporting quite a number of projects. Winning projects must impact a country from one of the regions that have been covered by the DSAMI Summit, and it must also be innovative in format, technology, or distribution that you are going to be using to amplify reliable news. And another thing we want is that whatever idea you are submitting should be something you can complete within 4 months, specifically something that can be completed before September 30th, 2023. And selected projects would receive up to $4,000 each. And the project, we also have mentorship time with specialists that we would hire in your region. So irrespective of wherever you are, please enter. You are encouraged to submit. You can use this URL or just point your camera to this QR code that will take you directly to where you would like to submit to enter your application. And so thank you very much, everybody. It has been an amazing time being your host in this series of webinars. And I would like to go back to Enrique for last remarks before I give the closing remarks. Yeah, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining and for your questions and for thinking that it's interesting what I had to say. I had a great time. And if you ever have any question and you want to reach out, my email is on my Twitter channel, I think. So you should be able to find it. Just drop me a line and I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah, so thank you so much for spending almost a couple of hours here with me.
Yes, I told you my audience is very engaging, and I think they lived up to that expectation. And so thank you everybody that has attended this session. Let me know in the comment section, has anybody attended the 5 sessions? If you've attended the 5 sessions, indicate, say yes. There should be something. If you really attended the entire sessions, wow. Thank you, Samuel. Yes, I think Samuel did. Yes, Patrick, I remember your name. Wow, so do not miss this opportunity, this grant opportunity. Thank you, Shuli. It's still great you attended 4 out of 5. Oh yes, and all the sessions are now live. They are available live on YouTube. And please do not hesitate. We are going to send an email that will contain attachments of the slides of every speaker in this series, in addition to the videos. And yeah, so for you to attend, to access these videos and other materials, please I would encourage you to be part of our Facebook community. You know, we are very active on that Facebook page. If you are not a member of that Facebook community, I just dropped the link in the chat box right now. And please just click that link. It takes you to Facebook, and we will get you in, and you'll be able to access these tools, this resource, and several others that you may need in your for you to continue to consult and get through these materials. And so we hope that this series has inspired you and guided you in one or two ways, how to empower the truth, how to rethink your strategy in content creation and distribution. And it has also brought out one or two ideas that will be creative enough, that we believe will be transformative enough in ensuring that the truth catches up and eventually overtakes mis and disinformation. I want to thank our partners on this project. I want to thank everybody that has been, every facilitator, every trainer that we've brought that has accepted our invitation and has also been active enough in reaching and guiding our participants, sharing their knowledge and improving their skills. To learn more about the International Center for Journalists, this project and several other projects that the center has, please check out the International Center for Journalists website on www.icfj.org. And do not forget that the International Journalists Network has an archive, an inexhaustive archive of resources, information, tools, and materials that you would need in advancing your journalism career. Several of these webinars had already been captured and packaged in stories that are also in bullet forms that you can quickly access and check them out, and you can apply them. So I encourage you to check out IJNet's website on www.ijnet.org. So thank you very much from me and everybody from the IJNet team. It has been an amazing journey. The journey has not ended, and we are going into the next phase, which is a grant. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Enrique. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had time with our audience. I hope you enjoyed the questions. So bye everyone, and have fun.